thing.
Going?
Now it's gone.
Fucking $30.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kurt Johnson, contributor with POW Magazine here in Portland,
Hi,
Oregon.
Kurt.
We're here in the
Hotel.
In the hopes
Motel.
of meeting vintage trouble.
With Motel. Holiday Inn.
exactly.
Yeah, looking good.
Your hair looks good, man.
So anyway, we're at the Waterfront
Sexy.
Blues Festival, Portland, Oregon, and this is the first time you guys have been up to Portland, right?
No.
No,
We've played this festival.
at the Blues Festival.
No,
Wait,
no,
that's
We've
all
played
right.
this 3 or 4 times.
Oh, okay. Well, I must have missed it.
We all have homes here.
Oh, you live here?
No.
No.
Oh, give me.
But we have been up to the
We feel like we have
we
homes
played
here.
here many times.
Okay.
And we feel like we have homes.
And
we have so much
we
family.
I
big
stand
friends of,
corrected
big friends
then.
of Kink FM as well.
Oh, okay.
So, Sheila's always been good to us back in the day when she was there.
Okay.
And we have so many friends here too.
Well, that was one of the things I was going to ask. I've been told by other performers that Portland takes care of you. Portland is good to performers, as opposed to other places that treat the performers as nothing more than hired help. So, what's your impressions?
They do take care of it. You know, a lot of places take care of the musicians because, you know, you're there doing your job and they want you to do well. So we try to, you know, we seem to get respected everywhere we go. But there is a feel up here in the, would you call this the Pacific Northwest? I guess
Yes.
you kind of would. Yeah, it's really just an incredible territory for the people. They're passionate, you know, and they do take care of you in many ways. They take care of themselves. It's a very healthy place. It just feels great up here. And, you know, we're neighbors. We're just down here in California, but we don't get up here near enough, even though we've been up here quite a bit. But every time we come, and even in Washington State, it's just beautiful territory and very beautiful people. And music, crazy music lovers.
Yeah, we've toured a lot of places, and there's something about coming to Portland all the time. It's the hugs feel deeper, the food is better. There's a welcoming that makes you feel like you actually are in probably the championship of hospitality. And I think that probably comes from the restaurants, the record stores. There's so many great vinyl
Strip
record
clubs.
stores, the strip clubs. There's what's the Mama's place with? Is it called the Mom's Kitchen?
Really?
Mother's Kitchen? Or is it called Mother's? What's it called?
Mother's. I think.
Well, that place is just delicious. We've done
Shout out
so
to
many,
Sample.
tours with with acts that we've toured with. We've come here, but there is something that people call like the Austin of the North.
Yeah.
And Austin also is great for its hospitality. And there's a big, like Richard was saying, the feel for music here is one of those things where people really listen. It's one of those places where people will applaud in the middle of a song because of a lyric or because of a dynamic that happens with the band. And then also, it's just by the water. And I think the first time we played here, well, the romance for me landed in the fact that it felt a little bit like, there was a riverboat right on the water. So it made me think
Riverboat and a
about
bunch of boats tied up.
Yeah, but that big one, it made me think of Big Wheels Keep on Turning. And, we got to play with one of our favorite bands, Alabama Shake here the first time we played. And
Booker T.
yeah, Booker T and Mark Brazard and just so many things. We've had a lot of really good connections. And then we're excited to play tonight with one of my favorite new bands, is Southern Avenue. We played, I don't know, for some reason we keep seeing them everywhere right now.
Yeah, totally.
And in a month we run into twice, right?
Three times. At three in Australia, in Europe, and now here.
Oh, well then
And
4
Netherlands.
times. San Diego.
Dana Point.
Dana Point,
Dana Point,
Netherlands,
right.
Australia,
So-
Netherlands, and here. That's
So
right.
4 times. What's
How
up,
many
guys?
blues festivals do you plan? I've seen in your history you're doing things like Glastonbury and these other large areas, but strictly like blues festivals like Delvini or Chicago, or do you play those kinds of festivals
Seems-
aside from Portland Blues Fest?
Yeah.
It seems to be a lot of festivals they call blues festival, which actually is a lot of different kind of music. Even Byron Bay Blues Fest in Australia, which is an enormous blues fest, has a huge variety of music. So I wouldn't say it's all blues. So,
And
that's-
that-
But the
that's-
promoter explained that to us, which was the first time I ever really heard this explained. Usually big festivals that are called blues festivals, they end up being, they take over a whole city. And the city pours so much money into it. But then they want it to be a family weekend, so there has to be different bands of different genres besides blues to take care of everyone in
And
the
I was
family.
going to lead
And
into
so that's
that.
Probably how it, that's probably
I
how
hear
this
from
happened.
people, old timers here, that they starting to grumble that this is no longer a blues festival. And exactly as you said, it's the variety of acts that come. And if you would tell more about how you've experienced that.
Well, I
in
think,
general.
I think also a good way to think about it is if you go to a blues festival and there are only blues bands there, then you're just going to be preaching to the choir. Opposed to blues fans should be excited if there are other genres there, because then you have a chance to hook people into the blues. You know what I mean? Like, say you're going to see some other band, you never listen to the blues, and it's surrounded by mainly blues bands, then there's a chance that someone will fall in love with the blues that's never would have gone to, you know, a blues festival.
Yeah, and if you look at the history of traditional American blues music, it's in everything. It's in pop music, it's in rock music, it's everywhere. So it's bleeding into all of it. So.
And one thing I would add about that, with the new bands like yourselves, if you listen closely and you pay attention to the undercurrents of the music, it all goes back to the blues fundamentals.
So I think that's what Nolly's saying, but you know, also we were talking about with Portland. Portland is a very inclusive town. So if somebody's grumbling and they are from Portland, they might want to check their driver's license, because that's not very Portland of you. You know what I mean? And the accessibility of it
They're
kind
old timers.
No, sure, but the sort of big tent kind of is encompassed in saying it's the blues. It's, you know, I think the only foul there might be is if you're playing old style blues badly.
But I think in their favor, though, I think they're just trying to be purists.
Yeah,
But
right,
at the end
sure.
of the day, in order to expand what you love, you've got to bring people there that wouldn't regularly be there.
Yeah.
So if they really open their minds, you understand it. It's a way to get younger people to appreciate a form that they really love.
Now, along that vein, with your musical style, it's a style that has evolved from the blues fundamentals. There's a lot of soul in it. There's some rock. You play some blues just to keep it interesting, but you've taken all these different types of things and melded them and merged them to create your own wildly successful sound and act. So tell me about that. Tell us about that.
Well, I don't know about, I mean, I guess we can talk about individuals amongst us, but it's never been my desire to do anything that doesn't feel like a synthesis. Why would you do something that's already been done in the past? It kind of feels unnecessary. It's already been done. So the idea is really to walk through life and be inspired by things, from foods to destinations to lovers to different styles of music to location, and allow that to all be part of what is your music amalgamation. And so it's really an honor for us really to feel like whatever we started out with, we've traveled the world a lot and played with a lot of bands. It's great that people are starting to hear the relationships that we've made and the places that we've been inside of our music. Otherwise, who would want to just stay still running around in a circle repeating things that people have already done for the last 100 years?
Speaking of blues,
Yeah, I mean, but usually people ask about what kind of music we do. I would say soul, rhythm, and blues music, and that covers a lot of broad, I
wide
think.
genre.
Yeah, and you know, we all have different influences, but that's what's great with a band. You know, like all this kind of get rolled into one thing, which is a beautiful thing.
The next avenue that I want to explore is your musical creative process, creating original music. So how does it go from here onto a score sheet and then something that's performed in front of people?
Yeah, a lot of times it never makes the score sheet. It's all different kinds of ways, because sometimes songs are based on an emotion that will happen when we're not together. Sometimes songs will be based on a riff that someone has when we're not together. Other times songs will happen when we're supposed to be rehearsing something else, and then we're all in a room together, and all of a sudden something will come from that moment. So, I mean, I guess the answer is, for us, we don't have one form of creation. And again, I think that's kind of cool, because you know, sometimes when you're growing up and you think you want to have, you know, your ideal mate in your life, they look like this, they feel like that, and so you just hone it in on that. And then as you grow older, you start understanding there are all different kinds of things. I think that's how our creative process is. I think if we were to just say, all right, start with the beat, then go to this, then go to that, it would just feel so kind of like, what do you call it? Yeah, you had it in a headlock. You'd be putting creativity in a headlock instead of just inviting it to come from wherever it comes. So for us, we don't really have a process. I don't know whether that sounds chaotic or not, but
Well,
for us,
it
it's
sounds accurate and
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Lean into the chaos.
So, final thing, what's on the horizon? What's the next future thing for the band? Where are you going with it? What are you doing with it? Where are you taking it for the future?
It's been a while since we've toured the States, and so we spent a lot of time over the last last few years, I'll say, basically spending our touring time overseas, from Japan to Australia, all over Europe, everywhere besides the United States. So in the fall into winter, we're going to be doing a States tour, and so that's really exciting for us. Again, it's almost like a kid that would go to college, and their parents get mad they don't come home on Thanksgiving and Christmas anymore. So like a lot of our homeland troublemakers, they've been pretty harsh with us about the fact that we haven't been running around the States a lot. So we're excited not only for ourselves to get to see the country again, because it was really nice to get to tour a lot in America and actually feel the different pockets. In a way, I feel like I'm more accustomed to some places overseas than I'm accustomed to my own country right now. And so it's going to be great for us to get to know the South again, and to know the Pacific Northeast, and to know that just all these different nooks, because each is so different, and it'll be fine. It'll be a good time to try and figure out how we make each of those places dance and how they inspire us. Because I definitely forgot.
Anybody else got anything to add?
Josh, I would make a bad joke, so I'm gonna leave that right
Okay.
there.
All right. Well, there it is. There's our interview with Vintage Trouble, and we're at the Blues Festival in the big hotel ballroom, and there we go. And thank you for having us, and
Thank you.
Great.
great
Thanks for
Appreciate
to
it.
meet you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All the best. We'll see
You
you.
bet.